Welcome to the pink side. She needed a bridesmaid. Now I'm the belle of the wedding. My name is Alex, a 24-year-old graphic designer with a pretty ordinary life, or so I thought. On the surface, I'm just another guy navigating deadlines, coffee runs, and the occasional awkward social interaction. But beneath that facade, there's a side of me that very few people know about. A side that has always fascinated me. Crossdressing. Not for attention, not for pranks, just for the quiet thrill of exploring a more delicate, feminine side of myself. It started in high school with stolen glimpses of my sister's clothes and makeup. The feeling of slipping into something soft, feeling the silk against my skin, the subtle transformation in front of the mirror. It was intoxicating. Over the years, it evolved from curiosity into something I craved, a secret hobby that made me feel alive and confident in ways my everyday life never could. But I was careful. Only my closest friends knew, and even they saw it as a quirky indulgence rather than a true part of me. Crossdressing was a secret thrill, something private and personal. That all changed the day Lily, my best friend since college, called me with an unusual request. I lived in a small, cozy apartment in the city, a space filled with books, sketches, and a carefully curated wardrobe that balanced everyday masculinity with a few hidden feminine pieces tucked away in drawers and boxes. The soft hum of my laptop, the faint smell of coffee, and the warmth of afternoon sunlight streaming through the blinds made it feel safe, my personal haven. Then came Lily's call. She was panicked, voice bright and urgent. "Alex, I need a huge favor," she said, her tone teetering between desperation and excitement. "I just got engaged, and my sister backed out last minute. I need a bridesmaid, and you're my only hope." I laughed nervously, thinking she was joking. But the tension in her voice told me otherwise. Lily was never dramatic without reason. She went on, explaining how she had already promised her family a bridesmaid, how everything was planned, and how she couldn't let anyone down, not even herself. I felt my stomach tighten. I knew where this was going before she even said the words. "You want me to be your bridesmaid?" I asked, half joking, half panicked. "Yes," she exclaimed. "Please, Alex. You're tall enough and you have that, grace. You could totally pull it off." I froze, imagining myself in a flowing dress, heels, and makeup, standing at the altar next to her, all eyes on me. The thought was exhilarating and terrifying. This wasn't just a casual cross-dressing session in my apartment anymore. This was a full-blown, high-stakes event. My private hobby, usually hidden and controlled, was about to collide with public expectation. Every decision, hair, makeup, dress, posture, would be scrutinized by family, friends, and strangers. The stakes were higher than anything I'd experienced before. Part of me felt a rush of excitement. The idea of becoming Vanessa, or whatever persona I'd need to embody for the wedding, was intoxicating. But the other part of me was paralyzed with fear. What if I messed up? What if I looked ridiculous? Worse, what if someone I knew recognized me and my secret hobby? Lily wasn't just a friend. She was my anchor in many ways. Over the years, we shared secrets, heartbreaks, and countless late-night conversations. Her trust in me was something I valued deeply, and her desperation tugged at my empathy. I couldn't say no, not without feeling guilty. Yet, the request forced me to confront my deepest fears. Could I blend my private passion with her public need? Could I transform into someone else and survive the scrutiny of a real-life event? Her voice softened slightly. "I promise, Alex, you'll look amazing. You have that natural elegance. And I'll help you with everything, makeup, hair, the whole look. You won't be alone in this." Her reassurance helped, but it didn't erase the anxiety curling in my stomach. I knew this wasn't just about being a bridesmaid. This was a journey into uncharted territory, a moment that would test my limits, both physically and emotionally. As I hung up the phone, my mind raced. I imagined selecting the perfect dress, practicing my walk-in heels, learning the delicate art of makeup application, and mastering the posture that would allow me to pass as a real bridesmaid. Each thought sent a shiver of excitement and fear through me. I also knew one thing. Once I stepped into this role, there was no turning back. The wedding would see me fully transformed, exposed, yet empowered. My secret would evolve from a private indulgence into a public performance, and I had to be ready for every gaze, every comment, every judgment. That evening, I opened my hidden drawer of feminine clothes and accessories, touching the soft fabrics with reverence. I wasn't just Alex anymore. Soon, I would become someone else, someone captivating, elegant, and utterly scrutinized. Someone who would be the belle of the wedding. And as I looked in the mirror, tracing the contours of my face, imagining the brush strokes of makeup to come, I realized that this experience would change me forever, whether I was ready or not. The next morning, my apartment felt smaller, somehow suffocating with the weight of the decision I had made. Saying yes to Lily had been easy, but living through it, that was another story. I paced in front of my mirror, glancing at the neatly folded dresses I had chosen, pastel pink, lavender, and a soft peach gown Lily insisted would look perfect. Each dress seemed to hold a mirror to my insecurities. Could I pull this off? Could I convince strangers, family, and even Lily that I belonged in heels, makeup, and a flowing gown? My heart pounded at the thought, and a mixture of shame and excitement coursed through me. Shame, because this was something I had always kept secret. Excitement, because I was finally going public with my hidden side, even if just for one day. I took a deep breath. I can do this, I whispered to myself. I'll be graceful, I'll be elegant. I can survive this. Yet, deep down, I knew I was teetering on the edge of vulnerability and exhilaration. Lily had sent me a list of essentials: heels, accessories, hairpins, and makeup basics. I approached the task like a student before her first performance. Careful, deliberate, anxious. The dress I picked first was pastel pink with delicate lace details at the hem. I traced my fingers over the fabric, feeling the soft texture against my skin. There was something almost intimate about it, as if the dress itself whispered promises of confidence and elegance, but also of scrutiny. Next came the shoes. I chose pale pink heels, not too high, not too low, just enough to force a careful, graceful gait. Slipping them on, I teetered at first, balancing awkwardly on unfamiliar heights. My toes cramped slightly, and a wave of panic hit me. I'll never walk in these without stumbling, I muttered. But then, a flicker of determination steadied me. Accessories followed: a small clutch, delicate earrings, and a thin bracelet. Each piece heightened the sense that I was stepping into someone else's persona, someone poised and refined. Standing in front of the mirror fully dressed, I barely recognized myself. The reflection staring back was both foreign and intoxicating. Softened features, flowing fabric, heels elevating my stature, everything about me had changed. And yet, beneath it all, Alex still existed, a quiet observer hiding behind the mask of Vanessa, the bridesmaid. The thrill of the transformation mingled with a raw vulnerability. Every inch of me felt exposed, not in a literal sense, but emotionally. I feared laughter, judgment, rejection, but I also felt alive, more confident than I had ever been. I spread out the brushes, the compact, and the powders with meticulous care. Applying foundation, blending blush, and attempting eyeshadow for the first time on my own made me feel like an apprentice of femininity. My hands trembled slightly with both fear and anticipation. The brush glided over my cheeks, the subtle scent of makeup filling the air. Every stroke felt like stepping further away from Alex and closer to Vanessa. My reflection became a puzzle. Alex's eyes, Vanessa's expression. A strange duality took hold, thrilling yet disorienting. I caught myself smiling faintly in the mirror. "This isn't so bad," I whispered. But just as quickly, a pang of anxiety returned. What if someone saw me like this? What if my secret was revealed prematurely? Next came posture, walk, and gestures. I practiced gliding in the heels, trying to mimic the fluidity and confidence of women I had admired from afar. I swayed slightly, adjusted my shoulders, practiced subtle movements of my hands. The living room became my stage. Each step, Each glance in the mirror built both skill and tension. I could almost hear the imagined chatter of the wedding guests, their eyes scrutinizing every move. A part of me reveled in the thought of performing, of stepping into a role with high stakes. Another part of me quaked at the idea of public exposure. This duality, this tension between fear and excitement, defined the hours I spent preparing. By late afternoon, Lily arrived at my apartment, a bag of extra accessories in hand. Her energy was infectious, but her gaze carried an intensity that made me even more aware of my vulnerability. "You're going to be amazing, Alex," she said, though her eyes betrayed a hint of concern. "Just let yourself flow with it. Don't overthink." The audience responds to confidence. Her guidance was both comforting and challenging. She adjusted my dress, fixed the straps, and corrected the angle of the heels. She applied eyeliner with precision, whispered tips about lip color, and coached me on smiles that looked natural. Every touch, every instruction made me more transformed, but also more conscious of my exposure. By the end of the session, I barely recognized myself. Vanessa wasn't just a concept anymore. She was tangible, living, standing in the center of my tiny apartment. Even as I admired my reflection, a knot of anxiety tightened in my chest. The wedding was in 2 days, and with every hour, the stakes felt higher. Family members, strangers, and friends would soon see me in full attire. Every misstep, every awkward movement, could reveal the secret Alex had guarded so closely. I knew the thrill of transformation was only the beginning. Soon, I would have to maintain poise in front of countless eyes, balancing the exhilaration of crossdressing with the fear of discovery. And I couldn't shake the feeling that something, or someone, might complicate the process further. The excitement of becoming Vanessa was undeniable, but so was the tension. And I had no choice but to step into this world fully, or risk letting Lily down, and myself. The next day, Lily insisted we meet at the bridal salon to finalize accessories and do a full dress rehearsal. My stomach twisted into knots as I climbed into the cab, heels clicking nervously on the pavement. Each sound echoed my anxiety. Inside the salon, rows of sparkling gowns, mirrors, and mannequins created a surreal, almost theatrical atmosphere. Bridesmaids buzzed around, chatting excitedly, and I felt the weight of their gazes before even stepping into view. Vanessa was here fully formed, but so was Alex, hidden just beneath the surface. The first challenge came when the stylist introduced a group of bridesmaids for a trial fitting. Their friendly smiles and teasing banter sent a shiver down my spine. I nodded, smiled, and tried to maintain a natural rhythm, but each step felt scrutinized. Every glance, every laugh from the group heightened my awareness of how different I was from their expectations. A small voice in my head whispered, "They'll notice something." But I clenched my fists, forcing myself to respond confidently. "Hi, I'm Vanessa," I said, my voice higher and softer than Alex's usual tone. The words felt alien, yet necessary. The stylist helped me into the pastel pink gown, smoothing the fabric over my shoulders and hips. The sensation of the silky material against my skin was intoxicating and terrifying. I twirled once, catching my reflection in the floor-length mirror. Vanessa looked poised, perfect, almost unreal. But then, the first flicker of panic, the hem of the gown caught on the heel. I stumbled slightly, a gasp escaping me. One of the bridesmaids chuckled lightly, but I managed to laugh it off, my face burning with embarrassment. Lily leaned in, whispering, "Steady. You're doing fine." Her reassurance steadied me, but the incident reminded me how fragile my disguise truly was. The stylist guided me across the salon floor, heels clicking rhythmically. Each step required concentration, balance, posture, and poise intertwined with nerves. I felt my heart pounding in my chest, a mixture of thrill and fear. Vanessa was walking, smiling, interacting, but I could feel Alex's tension coiled just beneath the surface. Every eye that glanced at me was a potential threat to the secret I had so carefully built. Just as I began to relax, a familiar voice stopped me cold. "Vanessa?" I froze. A cousin of Lily's, someone I hadn't expected to see today, was staring directly at me, eyebrows raised in curiosity. My mind raced. Would they recognize me? Could they see through the transformation? I forced a smile, my voice tight but steady.
Yes.
Just trying on the bridesmaid dress. The cousin nodded slowly, eyes flicking from my face to the dress. A tiny smirk played at their lips. I couldn't tell if it was amusement, suspicion, or genuine admiration. My pulse raced, and I realized this was the first real test of maintaining Vanessa under potential scrutiny. After the near encounter, the stylist suggested finalizing hair and makeup. Sitting under the salon lights, I felt my vulnerability peak. Every brush stroke, every curl pinned into place amplified my dual identity. Applying mascara, I blinked carefully, aware that one misstep could ruin the illusion. My reflection in the salon mirror held two faces, Alex, anxious and raw, and Vanessa, elegant and poised. It was exhilarating and terrifying. The more I embodied Vanessa, the more intense my emotions became. I felt an odd combination of power and fragility. Power because I had created a persona that could command attention, fragility because one slip could shatter the illusion. Lily's guidance was grounding, yet every compliment she gave reminded me of the stakes. You look incredible. They'll never guess. Her words were meant to comfort, but they also emphasized the truth. The line between secret and exposure was razor thin. As the rehearsal ended, we stepped outside into the afternoon sun. I breathed deeply, trying to steady my nerves. The wedding was in just a day, and the thought of performing in front of hundreds of guests, family, and strangers was overwhelming. Every interaction, every glance, every tiny stumble had taught me that Vanessa could exist in public, but barely. The tension between Alex and Vanessa, between fear and thrill, would only grow stronger as the big day approached. Something in the pit of my stomach warned me, the challenges weren't over yet. Someone or something might push me to the edge before I even reached the wedding aisle. The night before the wedding, I couldn't sleep. My mind replayed the day's events, the cousin's scrutinizing gaze, the stylist's compliments, and the tiny stumbles in heels that could have exposed me. Vanessa felt real, seductive even, but Alex's anxiety lurked beneath every movement. Lying in bed, I stared at the ceiling, my thoughts a tangled mess of excitement and fear. Could I maintain this dual identity in front of dozens of guests? Could I walk, talk, and laugh convincingly as Vanessa without revealing Alex? The thrill of transformation clashed with the terror of exposure. Every shadow in the room seemed to whisper, one mistake, and everything changes. Around midnight, a soft knock startled me. My heart raced as I opened the door slightly. It was Lily, looking concerned. "Hey, you're still awake." "Nervous?" she asked, her voice gentle but probing. "Yes, just thinking," I murmured, hoping my voice sounded calm. She stepped in, eyes scanning the room as if sensing my unease. "Vanessa, promise me one thing, stay confident tomorrow. No one can suspect a thing if you believe it yourself." Her words were meant to comfort, but they reminded me of the delicate balance I had to maintain. Every interaction, every word, was a potential trap. The next morning, I faced the first real test, the gown. It had shifted slightly during sleep, wrinkling in ways that made me panic. I pulled it on carefully, checking every seam in the mirror. Then disaster struck. The zipper snagged. My hands trembled as I tried to pull it up. The gown resisted. Panic surged through me. "Vanessa? Everything okay?" Lily's voice called from the hallway. "Yes, just stuck," I whispered, face burning. My fingers fumbled desperately until finally the zipper clicked into place. Relief flooded me, but my pulse remained high. The incident reminded me how fragile this transformation truly was. One slip could reveal Alex beneath Vanessa. In the car, sitting beside Lily and another bridesmaid, I focused on keeping my posture perfect. My heels dug slightly into the floor mat, and every bump in the road made me flinch. Guests' arrival at the venue was the next challenge. Through the tinted window, I saw the elegantly dressed crowd, the photographers, and the intricate floral arrangements. The reality of stepping into the public, I made my stomach churn. Vanessa smiled, laughed at Lily's jokes, and nodded politely to the driver. Alex's fear stayed buried, but I could feel it simmering beneath the surface. As soon as I stepped onto the red carpet leading to the ceremony, the photographer's camera swiveled toward me. Flash after flash, lens after lens, every shot captured Vanessa's image. I froze for a split second, heart racing. Could I maintain the persona under such scrutiny? Lily squeezed my hand reassuringly. You look amazing. Just breathe and pose. I nodded, forcing a confident smile, but the camera's clicks felt like a countdown timer to exposure. Every photo could be evidence of my secret life if anyone looked closely enough. During the pre-ceremony photos, I caught my reflection in a mirrored pillar. Vanessa smiled back, radiant in her gown and makeup. But Alex's anxious eyes were behind the facade, watching, calculating, fearing the inevitable reveal. The thrill of becoming someone entirely different mixed with the terror of being discovered created a sharp emotional edge. My hands trembled slightly as I adjusted my hair, aware that every movement could betray me. As the wedding music began, guests taking their seats, and the bride preparing backstage, I realized the final test was imminent. Vanessa would have to perform flawlessly in front of hundreds of people, with every eye on me. The tension coiled tighter than ever. One slip, a misstep, a stutter, a sudden glance revealing Alex, could unravel everything. The duality of my identity hung by a thread, and the climax of suspense was just moments away. The heavy wooden doors of the ceremony hall loomed ahead. Each step in my heels echoed like a drumbeat in my chest. Vanessa, confident, elegant, radiant, stood tall, while Alex's nerves clawed at the edges of my mind. Guests were already seated, murmuring softly, unaware of the secret hiding in plain sight. Every glance felt like a spotlight. Every whisper seemed pointed directly at me. Backstage, Lily fussed with my gown, smoothing every crease. My wig shifted slightly when I turned, sending a shock of panic through me. Oh, it's perfect, Lily said with a reassuring smile. Don't worry, Vanessa. You're ready. I forced a nod, swallowing hard. My hands trembled as I adjusted my necklace, aware that even a tiny slip could reveal Alex beneath the surface. The bridesmaids began their procession. Each step felt monumental. Each time someone complimented Vanessa, a thrill surged through me, mingling with guilt and fear. Could I survive this evening without my secret unraveling? As the ceremony reached the exchange of rings, a shadow fell across the hall. A guest approached, speaking softly but pointedly. My stomach dropped. This was the moment where suspense could turn into revelation. The tension coiled tight. Everything hinged on the next few minutes. A misstep, a slip of the tongue, or even a misplaced glance could expose Alex. Vanessa's perfect facade was about to be tested like never before. The bride began her vows, her voice soft yet clear. Guests leaned forward, rapt. My heels pressed into the carpet, each step echoing like a drumbeat against my nerves. I felt Vanessa's poise holding, but Alex's fear surged beneath the surface. Suddenly, a gasp rippled through the crowd. My heart jumped. One of the elderly relatives, a woman with sharp eyes, pointed subtly in my direction. Is that really Vanessa? She whispered to her companion. Panic clawed at me. Could they see through the disguise? Had my dual identity been betrayed in an instant? I gripped the bouquet tightly, my knuckles whitening. My knees threatened to buckle under the weight of both the heels and the fear. Each compliment, each passing glance felt like a test of my ability to remain flawless. Alex's anxiety pressed like a physical force on my chest, but Vanessa's persona forced me forward, smiling, nodding, and pretending the whispering didn't exist. Every step down the aisle was a careful choreography, balancing elegance with a desperate urge to escape. Lily, sensing my trembling hands, whispered under her breath, "You've got this. Remember, confidence is key. No one can suspect a thing if you believe it yourself." Her words, though quiet, anchored me. I inhaled deeply, forcing calm into my posture. Vanessa's elegance radiated outward, even as Alex's terror simmered beneath the surface. Midway through the ceremony, a young guest approached with a camera, pretending to adjust it while sneaking a suspicious glance at me. My stomach twisted. I tilted my head slightly, forcing a genuine smile, careful not to meet his eyes for too long. One wrong gesture, one slip in tone, and the illusion of Vanessa would crumble instantly. Catching my reflection in a gilded mirror near the altar, I saw both Vanessa and Alex staring back at me. Vanessa's radiant smile masked Alex's anxious eyes. The image struck me profoundly. My dual identity was no longer private. It was on full display, hanging by a thread in front of everyone. I straightened my shoulders, adjusted my hair, and whispered silently, "I will not be caught. Not today." As the bride reached for her vows, the photographer's flash caught me mid-pose, highlighting my makeup, gown, and carefully maintained posture. My mind raced. Could these photos later expose me? Would someone scrutinize the images and see Alex beneath Vanessa? The ceremony's rhythm continued, each word, each movement a potential trap. The tension escalated. The climax was building, and nothing in the room was ordinary anymore. Just as the bride was about to place the ring, the ceremony hall doors creaked open. A tall figure entered, Vanessa's ex-boyfriend, someone known for his sharp eyes and quick judgments. My pulse spiked. He scanned the crowd and then paused, his gaze landing directly on me. I froze mid-step, feeling the weight of every heartbeat like a drum in my ears. Alex's panic surged. Thoughts raced. Do I run? Do I pretend? Will he see through Vanessa? Vanessa's confident exterior forced me forward, forcing my lips into a smile that felt foreign. I gripped the bouquet like a lifeline, fingers trembling. Every step felt heavier, every glance from a guest a potential threat. My dual identity was dangling by a thread, and one misstep could unravel everything. The wedding photographer moved closer, signaling for a final group shot. My mind screamed, if this picture gets out, everyone will see Alex behind Vanessa. I adjusted my hair and posture, forcing a smile that didn't reach Alex's eyes. Lily leaned close and whispered, "Stay natural. If you look confident, no one will suspect a thing." I nodded, swallowing the lump in my throat. Confidence was my armor, but fear was clawing at every corner. As I raised my bouquet to pose, a small piece of lace from the gown snagged on the corner of the altar. A tiny tear appeared, barely noticeable, but to me, it was catastrophic. Vanessa's persona wavered for a fraction of a second. Alex's fear surged like a tidal wave. This simple tear became a symbol of how delicate my disguise truly was. The ex-boyfriend leaned toward a friend and whispered something I couldn't hear, but his eyes kept flicking toward me. Guests glanced curiously, sensing subtle tension. My throat went dry. One wrong word, one misstep, and my secret, Alex beneath Vanessa, would be revealed in front of everyone. I forced a calm breath, repeating silently, "Vanessa is in control. Alex stays hidden." Every smile, every nod, every slight movement was carefully choreographed. The stakes had never been higher. I was standing in full view of friends, family, and strangers, performing an identity that wasn't truly mine, trying desperately to protect Alex's secret. The officiant asked Vanessa to step forward to complete a symbolic ritual. My legs trembled. The ex-boyfriend shifted in his seat, whispering again. Something told me that the next few minutes would decide whether Alex remained concealed or whether everyone would discover the truth behind Vanessa's perfect facade. The bride smiled radiantly, holding her bouquet, as the officiant guided us through the final steps. My heels pressed firmly into the aisle, but my mind was spinning. Every glance from the guests felt like a spotlight. The ex-boyfriend moved closer to the front, appearing casual, but his eyes never left me. I felt Alex's panic rise like smoke curling in my chest. One slip, one twitch, and everything will be exposed. I forced myself to smile, nodding at well-wishers, while Alex's fear tried to override Vanessa's poise. My heart raced with every step. Do I continue pretending, or do I reveal the truth? The thought was both terrifying and tempting. I felt the adrenaline, the forbidden thrill of being so close to discovery. As I reached the altar, a sudden movement caught my eye. The heel of my shoe snagged on the hem of the gown. My body lurched forward, threatening to trip. A collective gasp from the guests made my heart pound. I steadied myself, but the moment felt symbolic. A crack in Vanessa's perfect exterior, exposing Alex's vulnerability. The ex-boyfriend leaned toward the bride, whispering again. I couldn't hear, but the intensity of his gaze pinned me in place. Guests glanced around, sensing tension. Each flash from cameras, each murmur from the crowd, was a countdown clock, an invisible timer threatening to reveal my secret. My legs were trembling, my arms slightly quivering as I held the bouquet. The weight of the gown, the pressure of the heels, and the fear of exposure collided. Every step was both performance and peril. Inside, Alex wanted to flee, to escape the masquerade. Vanessa's persona forced control, elegance, and confidence. The duality of my identity was stretched to its absolute limit. Catching my reflection in a side mirror near the altar, I saw two versions of myself. Alex's anxious eyes behind Vanessa's flawless smile. The split image struck a chord deep in me. This was more than a disguise. It was an emotional battlefield. I whispered to myself, "Hold it together. No one can see the real me, not now." The officiant's voice carried over the room, signaling the moment for the bride to present the final gesture of unity. Every second felt stretched, suspense thick like fog. The ex-boyfriend's subtle smirk suggested that he suspected something, but how much did he truly know? My heartbeat echoed in my ears, each thump a reminder that the climax was near, and the story's most dangerous moment was yet to come. The bride lifted her bouquet for the ceremonial pose. Cameras flashed incessantly, and the crowd's chatter seemed to vanish into a tense silence in my ears. The ex-boyfriend stepped forward, his eyes locking onto mine with a mix of suspicion and curiosity. My breath caught. Every step I took felt amplified, like the floor itself was aware of the secret I carried. My knees threatened to buckle beneath the weight of the gown and the heels. Alex's fear screamed inside me, desperate to flee. Vanessa's persona, forced and poised, clung desperately to the surface, refusing to break. I adjusted my posture, keeping my smile fixed, but every heartbeat sounded like a drum of impending doom. One misstep, one slip of the tongue, and the masquerade could collapse entirely. Suddenly, the ex-boyfriend leaned toward the bride and whispered something sharply. Her expression froze. Then, in a surprising move, she glanced toward me with raised eyebrows. A ripple of fear coursed through me. Had Vanessa's secret been spotted? Could she sense Alex beneath the veil of elegance? The moment was electric, a razor-thin line between discovery and secrecy. As I turned to mirror the bride's gesture, a loose strand of hair slipped from my carefully styled wig. It brushed across my cheek, a tangible reminder that my disguise was fragile. I pressed it back, forcing calm, but inside, every nerve screamed. The wig, the gown, the smile, it was all a delicate balancing act, and the slightest disruption could shatter the illusion completely. Guests smiled and applauded politely, unaware of the undercurrent of tension. The ex-boyfriend's lingering gaze suggested he knew something, but not everything. Every blink, every small movement carried the weight of potential exposure. I could feel the story holding its breath, and so could the audience, both in the room and those watching from afar, knowing the stakes had never been higher. Just as the final photograph was about to be taken, a sudden knock came from the side door. The sound echoed like a gunshot through the hall. Vanessa's poised smile faltered for a fraction of a second. My mind raced. Who could it be? Will this be the moment my secret is revealed? The camera flash captured everything. The elegance, the tension, the vulnerability. And then, everything froze in suspense. The sudden knock on the side door echoed through the hall like a warning bell. Guests paused mid-laugh, cameras hovering on the bridal party. My heart slammed against my chest as every nerve screamed in alarm. I froze, the bouquet trembling slightly in my hands. Vanessa's confident facade wavered. Alex's panic surged beneath. This is it. The bride, unaware of the tension consuming me, turned curiously toward the sound. The ex-boyfriend's gaze sharpened, and I could almost feel him sensing the precarious balance of my secret. I dared not move, not a single muscle, afraid that the slightest twitch might reveal the truth. The knock repeated, louder this time, more insistent. Inside, Alex battled a storm of emotions: fear, excitement, and longing. Vanessa's persona struggled to maintain composure, but the duality of my identity strained under pressure. Should I reveal myself? Run? Keep hiding? Every choice carried weight, and every second stretched endlessly. A single strand of wig slipped down my cheek. My hand shot up to adjust it, but the motion seemed monumental. In that moment, I felt the full weight of my deception, the fragile lines separating Alex from Vanessa, exposed in a flash. The mirror at the back of the hall reflected my two selves, one elegant, smiling, one terrified, vulnerable. The reflection was a metaphor for the story itself, split, fragile, and teetering on the edge. The knock sounded again, and then a shadow appeared in the doorway. I couldn't see clearly who it was, but the tension gripped every guest. Cameras captured the pause, the suspense, the collective holding of breath. Time seemed to stop. Would Alex be revealed? Would the ex-boyfriend act? Was my secret finally about to be exposed in front of everyone?